If you've been in East Tennessee for a while, chances are you know this jingle, you whistle this tune and can't get it out of your head.
Wamplers, Wamplers, it's great sausage made on the farm in Tennessee.
Remember that one? You're welcome. Before the Loudoun County breakfast staple ends up on your table, it's made with a scoop of solar power and a heaping dose. First of its kind renewable energy.
All week we're highlighting local farms that save money while saving their region from a warming climate. As Ben Cathey found out, you really do want to see how this sausage gets made.
Off the line and partially off the grid.
We go green above red on our E-gauge.
Ted Wampler says his namesake farm feeds the LCUB lines on weekends.
We are making a lot more energy than we're consuming.
On work days, solar makes up 12% of the total power usage.
We think he'd be right proud if he could see where we are today.
Wampler is speaking of the family legacy, going back 84 years.
Every year it gets more and more important to save energy as you're having to consume it.
Now, the fourth generation.
My dad could probably place that a little more accurately.
Martha and Trey help trim the fat on the bottom line.
There is definitely a financial win.
To retrofitting decades-old freezers with insulation and installing hundreds of thousands of watts in solar panels.
The price for solar has really, it's a fraction of what it used to be.
Much of the cost of their projects was offset by USDA REAP grants.
So, of course, running freezers in East Tennessee's climate is very expensive.
You've heard about solar, but what about proton power? It's what Wamplers calls their gasification of biomass.
It's the world's first commercial install, and it's just as cool as it can be.
Cool to reduce the heating bill, and cool to reduce their impact on a warmer climate by using very, very high heat.
Extreme heat in the absence of oxygen.
With some unique fuel.
We can process junk mail, telephone poles, railroad ties, anything that's plant.
Wamplers feeds the hydrogen gas into a big CAT generator built to run on natural gas. They also end up with water and a valuable byproduct.
If it does what it should do, this is going to be great for all of humankind.
Ted says visitors have come from around the world to Loudoun County to see the tech. Martha, Trey, and Ted are the first to tell you about the cost savings, but feel a sense of stewardship for the future.
Access to reliable energy is directly related to income. And of course for us, we want to get where every person on the planet, every family, can afford a premium sausage for breakfast.
I used to keep my horse out that way, so I'd pass the solar farm all the time. Earlier this fall, the Biden administration announced kind of a major shift to solar. They say that in less than 15 years, 40% of the country's power could come straight from the sun.
Hey guys, the Tennessee Valley Authority ran a sweep of all the cities in the southeast. They say Knoxville, in our own backyard, leads the region in solar power used.
All right, you've highlighted Wampler, but you're going to do some other farms who are doing something else. Is that right, all week?
All week long, we're taking you to different farms across East Tennessee, the dozens of counties we cover. We're taking you up to Lick Skillet Farm. We're showing you the power that mushrooms could have on reducing water usage, and we're showing you brand new green packaging made here from local farmers.
Good stuff, huh? Greenback, a family farm, turns profit by saving water. Eco Ridge says its lettuce tastes better, lasts longer, and could help cities struggling to feed their people.
Ben Cathey takes us inside the greenhouse in tonight's Going Green, Growing Green, Making Green series.
We can produce over a ton a week of lettuce. Lettuce doesn't weigh much.
Jeff Dean is growing green while making green.
You get it from the farmer here locally, and it's not spent time in a storage warehouse.
Next time you make a salad, look where it was grown. Probably not within 1,000 miles.
Just think of all the waste of energy transporting it from Mexico or even from California to here.
Here's how his indoor farm works. They call it aquaponics.
The fish that fries when we get them.
Begin with hundreds of tilapia.
Certain number of fish in the system that will provide enough nutrients to grow the lettuce.
The waste from these tilapia is the starting point for all that lettuce, but nothing goes to waste here in aquaponics. The tilapia end up as a pretty unique side product. You can buy their fillets at the Market Square Farmers Market.
The texture is like a sea bass, the way we raise it.
The Deans started giving away the fish when no one would buy.
Now we cannot meet the demand.
Those closed loops, actual pipe loops, keep water usage limited.
Just water flowing in there.
Dean says it's a fraction of lettuce grown in a field.
We lose about 5% of the water, leakage, evaporation. but everything else is recyclable.
And expandable across the globe.
For villages, so they could put his system together and on a smaller scale than this.
Food insecurity caused by climate change was a central topic for world leaders at the COP26 summit this month. EcoRich's manager, Rachel Inser, thinks this farm type could help developing countries avoid hunger.
It would be difficult at first, but once you know the basics and know how to do that, it's fairly easy.
Inser says you can stack these lettuce rows higher to save space.
All I got to do is cut it in half and stack it, and just change it up.
Plus, it keeps longer. They say a minimum of 2 weeks.
When you get outside the different city limits around East Tennessee, rural turns into farm country pretty quickly in a lot of cases. The neighborhood farmer, though, grows more than just fresh produce. Especially true for some acres that just aren't quite right for beans or corn.
Yeah, a local company is expanding on those spare acres. Cathey takes us to Monroe County as part of Going Green, Growing Green, Making Green.
If you're a farmer and you don't care about the environment, then you ain't going to be farming very long.
Jake Harris all set to bale switchgrass.
If other crops go down, then you've always got this.
On the historic Stokely Farm in Tellico Plains, we're standing in 40 acres of fallen grass.
But I've got about 150 acres total.
When Stokely teamed up with Von Or's Genera, they didn't need any additional equipment.
Planted with a no-till planter or drill, and we harvest it with a disc bind.
Harris says the long roots help prevent flooding. He says cutting late in the season helps return nutrients to the soil.
You don't continue to farm the same piece of ground by not taking care of it the right way.
Switchgrass typically acts as livestock feed. Think hay crop. The native grasses grow in land that won't take to other plants.
Most farms have some lower productivity land.
And this was just another revenue stream and some ground that wasn't so good for cattle or crops.
The grass from the Stokeleys and other local farms ends up here in Von Orr at this hub. Those bales into this packaging, biodegradable, compostable, recyclable, and CEO Kelly Tiller says it's not just good for the earth, it's good for the economy.
The demand for these products is just almost insatiable right now, and today almost all of what's available in the marketplace is imported.
While restaurants bid for limited supplies and boats sit offshore, Genera expands. A new 50,000 square foot building went up behind this plant.
We also have, a local supply chain that delivers that material, that, delivers to our customers.
CEO Tiller buys local switchgrass, sending it to regional distributors. That means fewer miles in the fossil fuel chain.
They are cost effective. They are not only environmentally friendly.
These clamshell containers, recognizable from some nearby delis, are tough. And Tiller says they're clean.
We are an unbleached plant, so we don't add any harsh bleaching agents.
She says Genera recycles almost all the water inside the factory, and unlike fresh produce, these grasses can be stored for years when demand spikes, and the demand is there.
We need more farmers.
All right, soon you might see native switchgrass all over the earth. Climate continues to warm. International experts say extreme drought will become more common.
Yeah, a team of plant biologists, though, at ORNL added a popular gene to the grass that may help climate-proof the plant since it's now more drought and disease resistant.
Farms that find ways to save energy, they are winning federal grants. That includes Lick Skillet Farm in Jefferson County. Cathey finding out how they're blending new technology with vintage technique in tonight's Going Green, Growing Green, Making Green.
It's really increased our margin.
Fresh off an almost $7,000 grant from the USDA's REAP program.
On a good day, our walk-in freezer, that's run entirely off of our solar panels.
Windmiller's family farm continuing to go green and heading for the black on these panels. Priority 1, turn what was once red clay into rich dirt.
When we first bought this land, it had been run down really hard.
The Millers own a 900-acre tract and lease 100 acres more. They limit how often the herd gets to graze in each pasture.
Basically means you're moving animals more frequently.
By rotating their cattle herd, they rebuilt the soil carbon, pulling CO2 out of the air.
The point of regenerative agriculture is that you leave the land better than you found it.
We practice regenerative agriculture with the pigs as well, where they get moved to different paddocks.
Herdsman Matthew Howell says most pigs don't live like this.
They hardly ever even see the dirt.
This isn't just to preserve the earth or pad the bottom line.
The pigs taste like the plants that they've been eating, and it just gives it like a much richer flavor.
Heirloom taste from a legacy farm. The farm's patriarch, Alex Miller, knows it's good business. After all, when he's not in coveralls, he's a chaired professor at UT's business school.
Tennessee used to be one of the leading agricultural states in the nation. We had 280,000 farms at one point.
Now, Alex says the number is down to 40,000 cattle farms here.
Sustainability, though, doesn't just mean being green. It means that you build an organization that can last, and that's everything from the people involved, the customer base you have, the financials, and, of course, the green environment's a big part of it as well.
So Oak Ridge National Lab, they basically lead the region in eco-friendly research. They want to help farmers make money in the process.
Climate change is happening, and we need to do something about it.
Dr. David Scholl leads a team that's racing against the clock to find unique ways to pull carbon out of the air. He says farmers will play a critical role in the coming decades.
Because soil can sequester carbon, if people can find ways to really understand how much carbon is being stored in a farmer's property, then there are potentially ways that the farmer can monetize that.
Yeah, and over at Lickskillet Farm, that's exactly what they're doing, hoping to capitalize on carbon credits from their soil in the coming seasons.
Well, beef prices, they're up big, from 15% this time 1 year ago. And that has some shifting to, well, meaty mushrooms. And as our Ben Cathey met some East Tennessee growers who are sending theirs across the country.
We get to produce a high protein product off of waste materials.
We're going picking in Jefferson City.
These are going to different restaurants.
Oysters and lion's mane on the menu.
Mushrooms are a fantastic meat substitute.
These heading to Blount County.
Maryville, we have Amici, RT Lodge, and Walnut Kitchen.
Farm to table, Mossy Creek mushroom style.
Lower amounts of air conditioning, lower amounts of water that we're using.
And a big water saver. Monterey Mushrooms, which has a large plant in East Tennessee, says it takes 660 gallons of water to raise the beef needed for one burger. For a mushroom patty, it'd be under 2 gallons.
Extremely minimal. Less than a flower bed, less than tomatoes.
Same thing over at South Knoxville's Everything Mushrooms.
For people who are wanting to grow mushrooms themselves.
They sell kits and spores, while Mossy Creek does CSA shares with 2.5 pounds of mushrooms per week.
That ends up being able to feed a lot of people.
They all grow renewably.
So we're using a waste product.
The logs that we sell that are inoculated come from downed trees or state forest clearing.
With all that talk of empty grocery shelves in recent weeks,
people were trying to get into things that are more sustainable that they can do at their house that might not rely so much on supply chain.
All right, so another hurdle for beef ranchers is a warming climate. This is directly from the National Climate Assessment. Heat stress.
The main reason that Black Angus cattle can't be used in hot climates is they can't take the heat. And so what we've been doing is taking heat adaptation traits from breeds that do well in the heat. We'll probably give them about another 12 degrees of heat tolerance, which means that they'll be able to thrive in hot climates.
All right, you heard that right. Angus that are bred with a white hide instead of the black that you see here and in your local meat department.